Hello everyone. I am the Midnight Storyteller and I am here to help you today. I know you use this video to fall asleep. So before that, like the video and subscribe to the channel. Also, where are you from and what time are you watching now? Get comfortable and relax. I don't know why I said yes. Maybe it was the money. Or maybe the way they described it, a quiet summer job by a lake, just watching over a campground overnight. It sounded peaceful. Almost too peaceful. Lake Hollow. That was the name on the job flyer I found taped to the window of a hardware store in town. A faded piece of paper with black ink and a phone number, no website, no official branding. I should have known. No one even calls it that anymore. Locals just say, the Hollow. Some even whisper it like it's cursed. The first night was calm. I had a flashlight, a laminated map of the campground, and a whistle they told me not to use unless someone was bleeding. Most complaints are just teens being dumb, the manager said. But from the very beginning, something felt off. At night, a forest should never be silent. There should be chirping, croaking, rustling, life. But the hollow was dead silent. The air felt thick, like it was holding its breath. It wasn't until the second night that things started to get strange. I was doing my usual patrol around midnight when I spotted a tent at the edge of the woods. I didn't recognize it. It was set apart from the others, nestled between trees where no campers were supposed to be. It looked old. Faded canvas. Tied loosely like it had been pitched in a rush. Inside, there was a faint light, like a lantern or candle flickering behind the fabric. "Hello?" I called out, stepping closer. "This area's closed off. Are you registered?" No answer. I waited. The light didn't flicker. No movement. Then I heard it, a whisper. Not words. Just the sound of someone breathing near my ear. I took a step back. The tent was still. When I returned in the morning, it was gone. I asked my supervisor about it during our shift change. "No one camps near the tree line," he said. "That part's been closed for years, ever since the disappearances." He laughed when he said it. But I didn't. That day, I couldn't stop thinking about the tent. I kept telling myself it was a trick of the light, a leftover structure someone had packed up before sunrise. Maybe some off-the-grid camper ignoring the rules. But deep down, I knew better. The whisper I heard, it hadn't come from the tent. It had come from right beside me. I returned for my next shift just before sundown. The lake looked calm, untouched, like a sheet of black glass stretching out beneath the trees. No wind. No sound. Even the birds were quiet. Before starting my patrol, I decided to check the logs in the ranger's shack, a small wooden cabin with broken window screens and a door that stuck unless you kicked it low. Inside, the air smelled like old coffee and mold. There was a dusty binder on the desk labeled Incidents. Most of it was nonsense, noise complaints, missing marshmallow sticks, the usual stuff. But about 5 pages in, something caught my eye. August 13th, unregistered tent reported near the east tree line. Disappeared before morning. Whispering reported by staff. Campers missing next day. There were 3 more entries. Same tent. Same whispering. Each entry months or years apart, but always in August. Always at night. Always near the same trees. I marked the spot on my map. That night, I brought a flashlight with a stronger beam and a second battery pack. Around midnight, I left the main camp and made my way toward the tree line. No one saw me leave. I didn't tell anyone where I was going. When I got to the edge of the woods, I stopped. There it was again. The tent. Exactly like before. Same shape. Same soft glow inside. But this time, there was a figure sitting in front of it. A silhouette. Perfectly still. Too still. I raised the flashlight, aiming the beam at the figure. Nothing. It was gone. Like it had never been there. Then, from behind me, I heard it again, the whisper. But this time, it knew my name. I froze. The whisper wasn't like before, it was clearer now, closer. Evan. That's my name. No one at the camp knew it. Not the campers, not even the other staff. They all called me New Guy or Watchdog. But that voice, it said Evan like it had always known me. I spun around with the flashlight. Trees. Just trees. My breath caught in my throat, and for a moment, I wasn't sure if I had actually heard it aloud, or in my head. The tent was gone again. I didn't sleep the next day. I went straight home, closed the blinds, locked the doors, and sat with my back against the wall, replaying everything. It wasn't until evening that I noticed something strange. My phone, which had been dead earlier, now had a photo in the gallery I didn't take. A blurry image. Trees. Darkness. A figure, far in the background, barely visible between two trunks. And its eyes, the only part that caught the light. Reflective. Like an animal's. But too high off the ground. I deleted the photo. That night, I almost didn't go back. But the paycheck was too good to walk away from, and part of me wanted answers. I needed to know I wasn't losing my mind. The manager greeted me with a casual wave. You're back. Most don't make it past 3 nights. I paused. What do you mean? He grinned, handed me the keys, and said, just a joke, man. Relax. But he didn't laugh. Later, as I walked the trail toward the lake, I noticed something out of place. A camper. Maybe in his late 20s, standing alone, staring at the water. No tent. No gear. Just standing there, motionless. I approached carefully. Sir? Are you okay? He didn't move. Didn't turn. Just said, quietly, it's not a lake. My blood turned cold. What did you say? Still not facing me, he repeated it, slower. It's not a lake. It's a mouth. And it remembers you. Then he stepped forward. Right into the water. And vanished without a sound. I ran to the edge of the lake, scanning the surface with my flashlight. The water was perfectly still. No ripples. No bubbles. Nothing. He was gone. I radioed it in, voice shaking, trying to stay calm. This is Evan, night patrol at Lake Hollow. I just witnessed a possible drowning near the east bank. One adult male. He walked into the lake. I need backup. Now. Silence. Then static. Then the radio clicked back, not with a voice, but with a sound. Breathing. Slow. Deep. Wet. I dropped the radio. I didn't sleep at all the next day. I tried calling the ranger station, no answer. Tried checking news reports, nothing about a missing man. It was like he never existed. When I came back for my next shift, no one mentioned the man by the lake. No search teams. No tape. Just the same manager with the same smirk. You made it to night 4, he said. Impressive. That night, I avoided the tree line. I stayed near the campfires, close to the lights, where kids toasted marshmallows and laughed like nothing was wrong. But even here, something was off. I noticed a little girl, maybe 7 or 8, staring at the woods. Not playing. Not eating. Just staring. I crouched beside her. "You okay, kiddo?" She nodded. Didn't look at me. Then whispered, "They live under the water, but they watch from the trees." I blinked. "Who does?" She turned to me then. Her eyes weren't scared. They were sad. Like she knew something I didn't. "The ones who whisper." She pointed toward the dark. And standing there, just beyond the reach of the lanterns, was the same silhouette. Still. Waiting. Watching. I stepped in front of the girl, shielding her instinctively. But when I turned back toward the trees, nothing. No silhouette. No figure. Just empty darkness and the endless hum of night insects that somehow sounded fake. Like a recording on loop. The girl had wandered off when I looked down. Gone. I don't know how, I only looked away for a second. I checked with the other campers. No one had seen her before. None of the parents claimed her. She just vanished. I returned to the ranger's shack, heart pounding, ready to quit. But something made me stop just outside the door. There were muddy footprints on the porch. Bare feet. Small. Like a child's. They led up to the shack, and stopped. No prints going back. I stepped inside, slowly. The binder was open. The incidents log. A new entry had been added, in handwriting that wasn't mine, 8/15, whispering heard again. Man walked into lake. Girl reported seeing the watcher. Silhouette confirmed. One camper missing. Written by Evan C. My name. In ink I hadn't written. I backed away, my hand trembling as I shut the binder. I knew I hadn't imagined any of this. But this was something worse. It wasn't just happening around me anymore. It was pulling me in. I turned to leave, but something in the corner of the room caught my eye. A mirror. It hadn't been there before. And in the reflection, I wasn't alone. Behind me stood a figure. Pale. Mouth open, impossibly wide. And its eyes, those glowing, glassy eyes I'd seen in the photo, were inches from mine. I turned around in a panic. The shack was empty. But the mirror? It still showed 2 people. I stumbled backward, nearly tripping over the chair behind me. The mirror didn't lie. The figure stood right there, pale, impossibly thin, its limbs too long, too still. Its face, it wasn't even a face. Just smooth, stretched skin with a mouth that kept widening the longer I stared. And those eyes. Hollow, yet bright. Like something was burning behind them. But when I turned to face the room again, nothing. No one. Just the mirror, reflecting something that wasn't physically there. I grabbed my flashlight and slammed the mirror with it. Glass shattered across the floor, shards skittering into the shadows. The figure was gone. The reflection finally normal again. But just as I caught my breath, the radio on the desk crackled. This time, it wasn't static. It was my own voice. "This is Evan, possible drowning, male adult, he walked into the lake. I need backup," it was repeating the call from 2 nights ago. Word for word. Only now, there was something new layered underneath. A faint voice overlapping mine, whispering in a different tone. "You can't leave. Not now." I snatched the radio and shut it off. Enough. I was done. I packed my things, wrote a quick resignation note on the back of a napkin, and marched out of the shack. I didn't care about the paycheck anymore. But as I stepped outside, something had changed. The sky, it wasn't night anymore. Not entirely. The stars were gone, replaced by a dim orange haze, like the sun was stuck forever just below the horizon. Time wasn't moving. And the camp? Silent. Empty. The tents were still there, but all the fires had gone out. No laughter. No footsteps. No wind. Even the lake was gone. Just dry, cracked mud stretching out where water should have been. And in the distance, where the tree line met the horizon, dozens of silhouettes. All standing. All facing me. I didn't move. I couldn't. They were too far to make out clearly, but I could feel their eyes. The way you feel someone watching you in a dark room, even when you can't see them. I slowly stepped backward toward the camp office, my breath catching with every crunch of dried leaves beneath my feet. No sound came from the woods. The silhouettes didn't advance. They just waited, like they wanted me to come to them. That was when I noticed something new. A sound. Not whispering this time. Music. Old, warped music. Like it was playing from a scratched vinyl record. A soft, crackling melody echoing through the trees. Something like a lullaby, but wrong. Too slow. Out of tune. I followed it. I don't know why. Maybe I was hoping someone else was still here. Maybe I was hoping for a lie that made sense. Either way, my legs moved before I could stop them. The music led me behind the ranger's shack, down a slope I'd never seen before. It wasn't on the map. It felt like the land had shifted, creating a path that wasn't there the day before. At the bottom was something I'll never forget. A door. Just a door. Freestanding. Standing upright in the middle of the woods, nailed to nothing. Its surface was old and rotting, covered in moss, with deep claw marks carved across the wood. The music was louder here. Coming from behind the door. As I approached, the handle slowly turned on its own, click. The door creaked open just an inch. Inside, nothing but blackness. And that unbearable hum, deep and low, like the earth itself was growling beneath my feet. Then a voice from behind me, soft and cold, "They opened it for you." I spun around, heart hammering in my chest. No one was there. Just trees. Silent, unmoving trees. But I knew what I heard. A voice, male, but thin, like it hadn't spoken aloud in years. The kind of voice that doesn't just echo in your ears, but stays with you, buried deep behind your ribs. I turned back to the door. It was wide open now. The music had stopped. In its place, a distant sound, like breathing. Not one person. Dozens. Hundreds. Inhale, exhale, all together, as if something large was asleep just beyond the doorway. I should have run. I should have turned around and forgotten the whole thing. But my feet stepped forward. One step. Two. The darkness beyond the door didn't look natural. It was too thick, too still, as if light itself refused to enter. Then something reached out. A hand. Long, thin. Gray skin stretched tightly over bone. The fingers brushed my shirt, barely touching, and the cold that ran through me was unlike anything I've ever felt. Not freezing. Empty. Like it stole a piece of me in that instant. I jerked backward, falling onto the dirt, gasping. The hand withdrew. The door slammed shut with a thunderous crack that echoed through the woods like a gunshot. When I looked up, the door was gone. No trace. No footsteps. No claw marks. Just trees. And behind me, where the camp should have been, more trees. Everything was forest now. Lake Hollow wasn't a campground anymore. It had moved. Shifted. Like the land itself had decided to erase everything behind me. And I was alone. Except I wasn't. From deep within the trees, I heard them. The whispers had returned. But this time, they were chanting. And they were getting closer. The chanting wasn't in any language I knew. It was rhythmic. Rising and falling like waves, echoing between the trees, surrounding me from every direction. It was coming from the forest, but also beneath it. I backed away slowly, every instinct in my body screaming to run. But I couldn't even tell where I was anymore. The path was gone. No tents. No lake. No lights. Just the same twisted trees repeated over and over again like a looping dream. Then I saw something ahead, a light. Flickering orange, like fire. I pushed through the underbrush, branches slashing at my arms, and stepped into a small clearing. Torches. Dozens of them. Staked into the ground in a perfect circle. And in the center, the tent. The same old, faded tent from earlier nights. Canvas torn, edges blackened, still glowing from within. But this time, the flap was open. And inside, someone, or something, was crouched. Its back to me. Thin, twitching. Rocking back and forth, whispering the same phrase over and over. I crept closer. My flashlight flickered. Then died. But the firelight stayed strong. The torches didn't waver. They burned with that same unnatural, unmoving flame. I reached the edge of the circle, heart pounding. The figure inside the tent stopped rocking. And then, it turned. I couldn't move. Its face, if you could call it that, was stretched, mask-like, as if someone had pulled skin across bone and forgotten where to stop. The mouth wasn't smiling, but grinning. Unnaturally wide, the lips cracked and dry, the teeth sharp and black. Its voice was hoarse, but calm. You're the last one to see the lake as it was. Now, you belong here. The torches suddenly flared. And I realized, they weren't torches. They were arms. Dozens of pale, flaming arms rising from the earth, reaching up like roots in reverse, and they were grabbing me. The hands were everywhere. Cold, dry, and burning all at once. Like they weren't just grabbing my body, but pulling something deeper. Something beneath my skin. My thoughts blurred. The chanting rose into a deafening hum, vibrating the very ground under me. I screamed. Not because of the pain, there wasn't pain, but because I felt myself slipping. Not falling, not being dragged, but being erased. One of the hands gripped my neck. I couldn't breathe. My vision narrowed. And then, a voice. Loud. Clear. Evan. It broke through the noise like a knife through fabric. Everything stopped. The hands froze mid-motion. The torches dimmed. The chanting dropped into silence. I opened my eyes, and I was in a tent. A normal tent. Morning light filtered through the canvas. Birds chirped. The smell of pine and dirt surrounded me. I stumbled out, blinking at the sun. I was back at the campground. Tents were up. Kids were laughing. A man in a park ranger uniform walked past, sipping coffee. What the hell? I ran toward the main office. My hands trembled as I threw open the logbook. Flipped through every page. No mention of me. No incident reports. No missing people. No drowning. No whispering. Then I saw it, a post-it note, stuck to the last page. You never left. Suddenly, everything went quiet again. No birds. No campers. No breeze. I stepped outside. The trees had changed. Taller. Blacker. Closer. And right there, in the middle of the path, the door had returned. Same place. Same rot. Same claw marks. But this time, it was already open. And beyond it, I could see the lake. Not as I remembered it, but as something vast and endless, pulsing like a heartbeat, rising and falling as if it were breathing. Waiting. I should have run. I should have turned and never looked back. But the moment my eyes met that open doorway, with the breathing, rippling thing beyond it, I felt it again. That pull. Like gravity, but deeper. Not in my body, in my mind. Each step I took felt disconnected, like my legs were moving on their own. The world around me faded. The trees warped and bent as I walked, their branches twisting toward the door like they were reaching too, trying to follow. The lake beyond wasn't water anymore. It was skin. Pale, veiny, stretching out into the horizon like an endless surface, pulsing with movement underneath. Something alive rested just beneath it. Something that saw me before I saw it. And then I realized, I wasn't alone. All around the door, half buried in the ground, were others. People. Some fully intact. Others, twisted. Eyes wide open, mouths gaping, frozen in mid-scream, but soundless. Lifeless. But they weren't dead. They were aware. Their eyes followed me as I passed. Tracking me. Begging me. Help us, one mouthed silently. But I couldn't help them. Because I was already too far. The door slammed behind me without a sound. I turned. There was no handle. No hinges. Just black, seamless wood. And then the lake beneath me, the skin, began to open. A slit, splitting down the center, slowly peeling apart. Not a mouth. An eye. And it was staring straight at me. I stood frozen as the eye opened fully beneath my feet. It was massive, the size of a house, its surface glossy and wet like freshly blown glass. The iris shimmered with shifting colors, impossible to name. Patterns moved inside it, like fish swimming beneath the surface, or thoughts. Alien thoughts. It didn't just look at me. It searched me. Every memory, every lie I'd ever told, every time I was afraid and pretended not to be, it dragged them up and laid them bare. I felt exposed, like my mind was turned inside out. And then came the sound. Not a voice. Not even a whisper. Just understanding, injected into my skull like heat. I knew what it wanted. It had been sleeping beneath Lake Hollow for centuries, maybe longer. Fed by silence. By stories left untold. Every whisper in the trees, every vanishing soul, every flickering tent, offerings. It didn't kill. It absorbed. And now it wanted me. I staggered backward, desperate to escape, but the ground beneath my feet pulsed, soft and wet. It wasn't dirt anymore. It was tissue. Each step I took, it responded. Tightened. Gripped. And then, all around me, voices. Hundreds. Thousands. Whispers layered over each other until they formed words. Tell our story, let them know we were here, you remember, that's why it kept you. They weren't trying to haunt me. They were begging. They were trapped inside it. And somehow, I was the only one it hadn't erased, yet. Not because I was special. Because I was useful. I fell to my knees, sobbing, as the eye blinked once, slowly, and everything around me turned white. When I woke up, I was lying on damp ground. Morning light filtered through the trees. Real light. I could hear birds again. Wind. A distant splash from the lake. I was back. The camp looked normal. The tents were up. The fire pits were cold but untouched. It was like nothing had ever happened. But I knew better. I stood up slowly. My clothes were damp, caked in mud. My skin tingled, like static lived just under the surface. I staggered toward the main road, past the ranger shack. Nobody stopped me. No one was there. I didn't say goodbye. I didn't turn in a key. I just left. By the time I reached the edge of town, I expected someone, anyone, to notice something was wrong. That I'd been gone for days. That the camp was empty. That dozens of people had vanished. But no one did. No reports. No missing person flyers. No police. As far as the world was concerned, Lake Hollow was just a quiet little summer campground. I went home. I locked the doors. And for a while, I tried to pretend it wasn't real. But the dream started almost immediately. The lake. The door. The eye. Always the eye. Sometimes I'd hear the voices again. Not in sleep, in silence. In the space between words. In the hum of appliances. In the water running down the drain. They weren't angry. They were waiting. One night, a package arrived at my doorstep. No return address. No label. Inside was a single item, a blank cassette tape. Written on the side in shaky pen, Lake Hollow, record number 1. I stared at the tape in my hand for a long time. It was old, the kind you'd see in documentaries about the 80s, with a faded plastic shell and spools of black magnetic ribbon inside. I didn't own a cassette player. Who even did anymore? But I couldn't throw it away. That night, I found myself at a thrift store downtown, digging through piles of junk until I found a dusty old tape deck for $10. It worked, barely. The speaker crackled when I tested it, but it spun. When I got home, I sat in the dark, tape in hand, palms sweating. I pressed play. At first, nothing. Just static. Then a low hum. Familiar. The sound I'd heard in the woods, that inhuman, subterranean frequency. My skin prickled. Then came the whispering. Dozens of voices layered together. Men. Women. Children. Some crying. Some chanting. Some simply breathing. Then one voice, clear. Mine. This is Evan. Lake Hollow. I think I found something, or maybe it found me. I don't know what's real anymore. I stopped the tape. My heart was in my throat. I had never recorded that. But it was me. Same voice. Same panic. Same fear I'd buried deep since I left the camp. I rewound, hit play again. More voices now. One of them a child's. They don't want the truth. Just the silence. Then another, the ranger. You made it to night 4. Most don't. Then the watcher. Now, you belong here. The audio warped. Twisted. It started speeding up, the voices blending together into a distorted scream. Then, nothing. Click. The tape stopped. I reached to eject it. But the tape deck wouldn't open. The spools kept spinning. No power. No batteries. No sound. Just turning. And then I heard it. Not from the speakers. From behind me. The same voice I thought I left behind. Tell the story, Evan. Or join it. I didn't turn around. I couldn't. The voice had come from inches behind my ear, and the air was suddenly colder, heavy, like the pressure dropped in the room. Every instinct screamed, don't look. Like if I acknowledged it, it would become real again. But the tape deck kept spinning. No sound. Just motion. Click. 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 Then the tape reversed itself. Spools rewinding on their own, faster and faster, until the deck shuddered and popped open. The cassette inside had changed. The label now read, Lake Hollow, final entry. I took it out with shaking hands. My phone buzzed on the table, one notification. Voicemail. No number. No caller ID. I played it. There was only one word. Soon. That night, I couldn't sleep. Every time I closed my eyes, I saw the eye. Not just in dreams, in the darkness behind my eyelids. Watching. Waiting. I kept the tape hidden in a box beneath my bed, but it didn't matter. The next morning, there was another one on my kitchen table. No explanation. No one had been inside. Just a new cassette. This one labeled, Lake Hollow, witness number 12, there was no mistaking it now, the tapes were from them. From it. Not just recordings, warnings. Reminders. I wasn't free. I was connected. Bound to the thing beneath that lake like a loose thread caught in the teeth of a machine. And it was pulling. The whispers got louder every day. In my dreams, I saw the others, the ones who vanished. Their faces blurred, mouths always open, like they were screaming in water. Reaching out from that lake of flesh, begging me to remember them. To tell their story. But every time I tried to write it down, the pages would go blank. My computer would crash. My pens would dry mid-sentence. Something didn't want their truth told. Something only wanted me to listen. I stopped leaving my apartment. Every mirror, every reflective surface, I covered with bed sheets and tape. I unplugged the TV. I sealed the windows. But none of it helped. The whispers weren't outside anymore. They were inside. Beneath the hum of the refrigerator. Under the floorboards. In the walls. Every hour of silence was filled with them. And the tapes kept coming. One every morning. Different labels. Entry 27, volunteer. Witness number 6, screamed too late. Caretaker's log, redacted. I didn't listen to them anymore. I burned them. But they always came back. Same place. Same table. No soot. No ashes. Just, there. I stopped sleeping. The circles under my eyes darkened into bruises. I couldn't eat. Every bite tasted like ash. My reflection, when I slipped up and caught it, looked thinner, older, like I'd been aging in reverse, spiraling into something hollow. Then, one night, I heard a sound I hadn't heard since Lake Hollow. The music. That warped, crackling lullaby. The same one I'd followed into the woods. Only now, it wasn't playing from the trees. It was coming from the hallway. From my front door. I approached slowly, hands shaking, every nerve in my body tensed. I pressed my eye to the peephole. Nothing. Just the hallway. Then the music stopped. And something passed in front of the door, fast, like a shadow cast by something impossibly tall. Then came a knock. Soft. Measured. 4 slow taps. I didn't answer. But taped to the door, where there had been nothing just seconds before, was a final message: the door opens again. You must choose, tell the story. Or return to it. I stared at the paper for hours. I didn't move. Didn't breathe. The words pulsed like they were alive, almost glowing against the yellowed tape that held them to the door. Tell the story. Or return to it. Return to what? The lake? The eye? That thing? Or had I never really left? That thought. That maybe I'd been trapped this whole time, rooted itself deep. What if my escape wasn't real? What if the streets, the apartment, the sky, were just the inside of something else? I finally pulled the paper down. My fingers trembled. The paper was damp, not with water, but something thicker. Sticky. Like blood. Or sap. That night, I made a decision. I would tell everything. All of it. From the beginning. Every whisper. Every shadow. Every unexplainable moment. I didn't know if it would save me, but maybe it could save someone else. Or at least let them be remembered. I sat down at my desk, opened my laptop, and typed the words, "This is the story of Lake Hollow, and why no one should ever go there." I wrote for hours. The words flowed like blood from a wound, messy, unstoppable. I didn't stop until my fingers cramped and my eyes ached from the screen's glow. And when I finally leaned back, heart pounding, I hit save. But the screen went black. Just black. No error. No crash. Then text appeared, as if typed by invisible hands. You chose to tell it. Good. Now they will know. But they will also come. My monitor flickered. The lights dimmed. And from my bedroom, I heard it, the creak of a door. My door. The one I hadn't opened in months. Slow. Groaning. Opening on its own. Something was stepping through. And it remembered me. I rose slowly, every muscle locked in place. My bedroom door stood half open, swaying gently as if someone had just walked through, or was still standing on the other side, just out of view. But I already knew, it wasn't someone. The apartment felt wrong now. Too big. Like the walls had stretched outward, giving it space. Giving them space. The whispers returned, but this time they weren't echoing. They were breathing. Close. Around me. I backed away from the desk. My laptop screen flashed violently between black and white. Binary code bleeding across the screen, too fast to read. Then, one line stuck. You are the door now. That's when I saw it. Not on the walls. Not on the ceiling. On me. Thin, black veins, snaking across my arms. They pulsed beneath my skin in time with something else's heartbeat. I grabbed at them, tried to wipe them away, but they weren't stains. They were growing. And then I heard the mirror crack. I had covered every mirror in this place. Every reflective surface. But somehow, I had missed one, the small square above the sink. It split down the middle with a high-pitched ting, like glass straining under pressure. I stepped toward it. I don't know why. Maybe I needed to see. To know. When I pulled the covering down, my reflection stared back at me. But it wasn't me. It looked like me, same face, same clothes, but its eyes were wrong. Too wide. Too bright. And its smile, slow, creeping, splitting cheek to cheek. Then it spoke. "They're already here, Evan." My reflection lifted its hand. Mine didn't. And then, the glass shattered, outward, as if something was trying to come through. The shards flew toward me like shrapnel, but they never touched my skin. They hovered. Suspended midair, glinting in the dim light, spinning slowly, as if held in place by invisible threads. Each one reflected not me, but different scenes, the lake, the door, the eye, the others. Every piece a window into Lake Hollow, all playing at once, overlapping, looping the horrors I had seen and the ones I hadn't yet. They formed a circle around me, closing in. Then came the sound. Click, click, click. Not from the glass, from the hallway. I turned slowly. Standing there was the silhouette. The same one from the woods, from the tree line, from the tent. Tall, rigid, its head tilted slightly to one side. I couldn't see its face, there was only shadow. But I could feel it grinning. The spinning glass stopped. The air dropped 10 degrees. It raised one arm slowly, and pointed. Not at me. At my laptop. The screen had changed again. One sentence, blinking, type your last words. I backed away, heart racing, but my legs buckled under me. I fell hard, landing near the desk. The figure didn't move. Just waited. I reached up with trembling hands, fingers resting on the keys. I didn't know what I was supposed to write. Apology? Confession? Warning? My breath fogged the screen. I typed, "I'm sorry I didn't listen sooner." The moment I hit enter, everything stopped. The shadow vanished. The glass dropped, shattering harmlessly on the floor. The lights flickered, then returned to normal. The apartment looked ordinary. But I knew better. This wasn't safety. This was the eye closing again. For a while, I sat in the silence. It felt like the air had finally exhaled, like whatever it was, had left. But even then, I couldn't move. Because I knew. It doesn't leave. It just withdraws. Watches from somewhere deeper. The tape stopped arriving after that night. No more whispers. No more shadows. No more reflections that didn't match. But the damage was done. Every attempt I made to tell this story, to send it to anyone, failed. Emails never delivered. Hard drives corrupted. The original manuscript I wrote? Gone. Worse, I forgot parts of it. Entire nights. People's names. Even the voice that once screamed in my dreams, faded. Like the hollow was slowly erasing itself from my memory, and from the world. But not completely. It left me this, a choice. If I speak the story, it grows. If I stay silent, I survive, but the others remain trapped. So I chose this. To tell you. Not through files. Not through recordings. Through you. Because if you're reading this, if you've made it this far, the hollow knows your name now too. The eye has opened again. The door is near. Maybe not tonight. Maybe not for years. But one day, you'll hear it. A knock. Soft. Measured. 4 taps. And when you do, don't open the door. Because the lake remembers. And it's always hungry. Candle. End of story.